She's my mom, Emily. If you can't respect that, maybe you shouldn't be part of this family. That's what Ryan said, standing right beside her, while I stood across the room like a stranger in my own home. His mom, Linda, had just insulted me again. This time, at our anniversary dinner. I cooked, cleaned, decorated. And she told me the lamb was too dry, just like my personality. I waited for Ryan to say something, anything. But instead, he sighed and muttered that I always make things worse. And then he looked at me like I was the problem. I nodded, slowly. My hands were still holding the serving tray. I set it down gently on the counter, wiped them on a dish towel, and walked upstairs. He didn't follow. He never does. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started a new folder on my laptop. Exit plan, confidential. When I first met Ryan, I thought I'd found someone gentle. He was quiet, thoughtful, never raised his voice, the kind of man who listened. After a string of chaotic relationships, his steadiness felt like safety. I didn't realize back then that still waters can hide deep patterns, the kind that drown you slowly. The first time I met his mom, Linda, was during Thanksgiving. I wore a burgundy dress, brought homemade pumpkin pie, and tried to make a good impression. She looked me up and down and said, "So you're the girl who thinks she can cook." Ryan chuckled. I should have seen that moment for what it was, a preview. But I told myself she'd warm up to me, that she was just protective, that things would get better. Instead, things got worse. When we got engaged, she made a toast about how hard it is to find someone who really fits into our family. Everyone laughed. I smiled. I always smiled. At the wedding, she insisted we add her friend Marlene to the guest list last minute, bumping two of mine. Ryan said, "Let's just keep the peace." And I did. I always did. Birthdays, Christmases, even my miscarriage, every moment became about her. When I cried in the bathroom after Linda told me I wasn't trying hard enough to give them a grandchild, Ryan said, "She didn't mean it like that." I worked full-time, cooked, cleaned, paid half the mortgage. But Linda still treated me like I was never good enough for her son. And Ryan? He stood by. Always by her. Never by me. There were quiet days when I'd sit in the car after work, just breathing, not wanting to go inside. I used to think it was burnout. Now I know it was grief. The slow grief of disappearing in your own life. I gave that family everything. And they made me feel like I was still not enough. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend, just me and Ryan. We'd planned it weeks ago. A staycation at home. No visitors, just peace. But Friday morning, I walked into the kitchen and found Linda unpacking groceries at my counter. Ryan looked up from his phone. "Mom's staying with us this weekend." That was it. No warning. No discussion. I thought we planned. I started. She needed a break, he cut in. And, honestly, you could stand to spend more time with her. Linda smirked like she'd won a round in a game I didn't know I was playing. "Don't worry, sweetie," she said. "I'll make sure the house stays clean while you relax." That evening, I sat on the edge of the bed, quietly folding laundry. Ryan walked in, frustrated. "She said you were rude." I blinked. I barely spoke to her.
"Exactly," he snapped.
"She's trying, Emily. And you just shut down." That was the moment. I didn't argue. I just nodded and said, "Okay." And something in me shifted, not like breaking, but like unlocking. That night, I slept on the guest room futon. And, the next morning, I started separating my belongings in the closet. I wasn't even mad. I was just done. Something changed after that weekend.
I didn't yell. I didn't beg.
I didn't even cry. I just stepped back. I stopped cooking dinner. I stopped reminding him to pick up prescriptions. I canceled the monthly auto payment I'd set up for his student loan. I didn't announce it. I didn't leave a note. I just stopped. I muted the family group chat. Turned off read receipts. Deleted Linda's number. Not out of anger, but because I no longer needed it. In our bedroom, I began gathering what was mine. My journals, my keepsakes, my half of the savings. Quietly, methodically. Every night after he fell asleep, I packed a little more. I didn't make a scene. I made a plan. And for the first time in years, I felt light. It was a strange kind of power, not the kind that roars, but the kind that whispers, "You don't need to be saved. You just need to walk away." He didn't notice at first. He was used to me making things work. Until I stopped. And that silence, my silence, said everything I never had the courage to say out loud. 2 weeks after I moved out, I got a message on Instagram. It was from Ryan's cousin, Julia, someone I barely knew. We'd only spoken once at a wedding 3 years ago, when I helped her find her anxiety meds after she had a panic attack in the bathroom. Her message said, "I don't know if you even want to hear from anyone in this family, but I just want you to know I saw what they did. And I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of it." I blinked at the screen, stunned. She continued, "You were the only person who asked if I was okay at that wedding. You sat with me for half an hour when everyone else just wanted to dance and take pictures. I never forgot that." Then she added, "Ryan's telling everyone you snapped and abandoned him. But I know better." Something broke open in me reading those words, and for the first time since I left, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because someone finally saw me. Really saw me. A week later, I heard from an old neighbor, Mrs. Green. She said Linda had stopped her on her morning walk and ranted about how I'd ruined the family. Mrs. Green's response? "Funny. Emily was the only one I ever saw taking care of everyone. Maybe you should look in a mirror." That was it. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. People who mattered already knew the truth. And people who didn't matter. About a month after I left, Ryan emailed me. Not called. Not texted. Emailed. Like I was a colleague he needed to circle back with. "Emily, I think we need to talk. Maybe we both overreacted. Mom's been really upset. She never wanted things to end like this." I stared at the screen, stunned by the lack of self-awareness. No apology. No accountability. Just repositioning. A few days later, Linda herself called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Emily, this has gone on long enough. Let's move past the drama and get back to what matters, family. You're still welcome, but we need to find common ground." Common ground, after years of her cutting me down? Now that people were starting to ask questions. Now they wanted unity. Then Julia forwarded me a screenshot from Facebook. Linda had posted a photo of Ryan with the caption, "No matter what life throws at us, we stay strong. We are family. We forgive." Forgive? She had weaponized my silence to paint themselves as victims. And now, with the cracks showing, they were scrambling. Not for reconciliation, but for control. That's when I knew. This wasn't love. This was image maintenance. A PR cleanup. They didn't miss me. They missed the convenience of me. 2 months after I left, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. No return address, just my name written in careful, neat cursive. Inside was a folded card with watercolor flowers and a note. _Dear Emily. You probably don't remember me, but I met you when my daughter was in the hospital last year. You were volunteering in the pediatric wing. My daughter, Lily, was terrified of needles. No nurse could get near her. But you came in with stickers and a sock puppet and made her laugh for the first time in weeks. _" I paused, already blinking back tears. I remembered Lily. She was 5. She liked dinosaurs and insisted on calling her 4-pole Spike. _ You stayed 2 hours past your shift just to sit with her while they gave her meds. You didn't have to, but you did. I found your name in a hospital newsletter and eventually found your address. I just wanted to say thank you. You didn't just help my daughter.
You helped me.
You made me believe in gentle people again. _" I sat there holding the card like it was something holy. After months of being told I was too much, too sensitive, too cold, too dramatic, here was someone who saw the truth. Who saw me. I didn't need validation from Linda. I didn't need a performative apology from Ryan. This note, from a near stranger, meant more than anything they'd ever said. And it reminded me of something I had forgotten. I never needed to be someone else's definition of enough. I was already whole, already good, already valuable. Not for what I gave, but for who I was when no one was watching. It was a rainy Sunday when Ryan showed up at my apartment. I hadn't given him the address. He must have gotten it from Julia, or maybe from the lease we once signed together. I opened the door just a crack. He was standing there in that same worn hoodie he always wore on lazy days. For a second, he looked like someone I used to know. Someone I once loved. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice lower than I remembered.
I didn't say anything.
"I've been thinking about everything. I miss you. Mom's been different. She knows she went too far. We both did. Let's try again. A fresh start." There was a time when I would have melted at that. Would have clung to it like oxygen. Would have hoped maybe this time he meant it.
But now?
Now I saw it for what it was. Another attempt to pull me back into their orbit. Not out of love. Out of loss of control. I opened the door a little wider. Just enough to meet his eyes. "I'm not angry," I said quietly. "But I'm not coming back." He opened his mouth to argue, but I gently closed the door before he could say another word. No yelling. No drama. Just peace. Looking back now, I don't feel bitterness. I feel clarity. Sometimes, the loudest kind of strength is the one that doesn't scream. It just walks away. Not to punish. Not to prove anything. Just to protect what's left of yourself. People will call you selfish for choosing peace. They'll say you gave up. They'll spin stories to make sense of your absence.
Let them.
Because the truth is, they never valued you. Only the version of you that made their life easier. If you're watching this and you've been the quiet one, the giver, the fixer, the one who kept hoping they'd finally see your worth, I want to tell you something. You don't have to wait for their permission to choose yourself. You don't need to fight to be seen by people who refuse to look. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop showing up. You're not too much. You're not too cold. You're not broken. You're just finally listening to the part of you that's done settling for less.